Hello and welcome to a Homespun house. My name is Molly and I am here today to spend a little bit of time with you all to talk about the knitting that I've been doing these past couple of weeks, the sewing that I've been doing for my two girls who are 2 years old and 5 years old, and then some yarn dyeing that I've been doing for a Homespun house, which is the company that I own and dye yarn for. I'm a one-woman show, so it's just me doing it all. My husband helps quite a bit with all of the paperwork and the business side of things. I do that as well, but I'm quite a bit of the creative mind behind a Homespun house. These past couple of weeks, I've been doing quite a bit of knitting. We've had a trip to Greece, which was fantastic. If I remember, I'll talk a little bit about that in the end. But I did finish my gingerbread house socks. In this last episode, I also mentioned that this would be the last time that you heard me talk about this because I've been talking about these socks for a good while. I really enjoyed knitting on these. This yarn is by Christina from the Cozy Knitter. I've never knit with her sock yarn. This was a lovely, lovely gift from her. It did come with a mini for knitting heels, cuffs, and toes. I didn't use that mini just because, I don't know, I just decided not to use it, and I still love the socks. I was very worried when I was knitting these that I wouldn't have enough yarn to finish them. I got lucky and had enough yarn. I think I had 2 stripes left when I finished these. I knit them for a size European 40 sock, which is what I wear. And I'm pretty sure these are going to be mine. I can't see giving these away. So I think these will be my Christmas socks this year. I do have plans of knitting some Christmas socks with a Homespun house sock yarn this year as well. But I really, really enjoyed knitting these. And I don't knit self-striping socks often. They're just not the yarns that I necessarily pull for all the time. But I have been getting a bit more into self-striping socks. I will be going to Rhinebeck this year, which is so exciting. I'm leaving in almost pretty much a month from now, and I'll be staying with Sue from Legacy Knits, which is really exciting and will be so lovely. She's such a fantastic person, as I'm sure a lot of you know and gather from watching Sue and Chelsea's podcast, the Legacy Knits podcast. But I do have plans of most likely buying some self-striping sock yarn while I'm there. I really want to see it in person, and I hope that whoever I choose to purchase self-striping yarns from, that they have samples, because that's the biggest seller point for me, I definitely know, is samples. To get off subject, I remember when I worked for a yarn shop called Off the Beaten Path in Monona, Wisconsin, which is right off the Beltline on the way to Madison, which is the capital of Wisconsin. So I worked at Off the Beaten Path, and everybody who worked there always knit lots and lots of samples for the shop, and the samples were always obviously what everyone wanted to buy. There could be a pattern, and regardless of which yarn the pattern was knit in, people wanted that exact yarn. So for those of you who have trunk shows, for those of you who have yarn shops, I'm sure you know, but samples are so important. You can never have too many samples. And I loved knitting samples. It was, when I was young, I worked there when I was a teenager, and that was my only job, and I didn't have the most money, of course. I just had my yarn shop budget, and I was always so excited when I could knit samples for the shop because I could choose the pattern that I wanted to knit as long as Karen, the owner, was up for it, and she enjoyed it. She even let me design some patterns for her shop, which was a lot of fun. My grandma Sue designed quite a bit for her shop and sold patterns, but I really loved to knit samples for the shop because, as I mentioned, I could choose my pattern. I could choose my yarn from the shop. Indie dyed yarn wasn't really a thing back then. I feel like Koigu was like the fanciest sort of indie dyed yarn, but there wasn't this huge explosion of, the working from home person or the working from your studio indie dyed yarn. That definitely did not explode yet. But there were really, really nice yarns. And I always loved it because I could keep my sample in the shop. I think it was like maybe a 3-month time period where you had to leave it in the shop, but then you got it. I didn't get paid for knitting samples. I just was able to knit for free, which was awesome for Karen, the yarn shop owner. She got all of these samples, but then I was able to keep those pieces that I knit for the shop. And I loved that. I don't have any of those pieces anymore. There are no pieces that I would wear. But yeah, that was awesome for me. I loved sample knitting. So yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing samples of self-striping sock yarn. I think that's kind of one of the only purchases that I have in mind that I really want to. I definitely want to buy some pattern books, some Hannah Fettig pattern books, definitely Stephen West's pattern book, because I really love all of his patterns, which I will talk about the Stephen West pink winner that I'm knitting in just a minute, because while we're on the topic of socks, I'll talk about the socks that I'm currently knitting. And I'm currently knitting a pair of socks. I think all of my projects from now on are knit out of a Homespun House yarns. So the current pair of socks that I'm knitting, I have in my Luli project bag. I get questions about this project bag every time I have this on, because nobody understands what I'm saying. So it's Luli, and I love it. It's a really fantastic sock size bag. I have my Simply Serving HQ. I call it Hedwig Owl. I think she just calls it a snow owl. And then I have my little Bobbins DPN Cozies. So I finished one of these pairs of socks. I am knitting these socks out of the Bakken base. And the Bakken base is our merino cashmere nylon base. And these are going to be socks for Robert. So I haven't decided if I'm going to give them to him for St. Niklaus, which is very much so celebrated here in Germany, or if I'm going to give them to him for Christmas, but I'm pretty sure St. Niklaus. And I'm knitting these out of Homespun House's Collins colorway, which is this beautiful cream colored base with this really deep gray to light gray and even black speckles. There's mustard yellow, golden yellow, and then there's even some very, very, very light here and there, just deep, almost brownish burnt red flecks, very, very sparingly in the sock. And then for the heel and toe, I have ash, which is a very tonal, I think it's ash and fog were the first two tonals that I came out with. It must have been 2 years ago, because I've been dyeing yarn for 2 years now. And that just seems unbelievable. That just seems weird. So I've been dyeing yarn for 2 years now. The anniversary of the first time I ever dyed yarn was September 11th with my mom of 2015. And yeah, so I really love it. I love these socks. The merino cashmere base is so soft. It has 20% cashmere in it and 70% superwash merino and then 10% nylon, and they're just so luxurious. It's it feels a little bit more plump when you're knitting with it. I think because the cashmere is non-superwash, so it does have that 20% of non-superwash wool in there, which always plumpens the yarn. I feel like superwash wools can really tend to get squished. But I still love them. I'm not knocking superwash wools. I knit with them all the time. And yeah, so I've started my second one. I always do quite a long cuff. I have a 30 knit one, purl one row cuff. And then I do the stockinette. Whoops, I'm using, which I wouldn't have mentioned had I not dropped that, I'm using Knit Pro Zings in the 2mm needle. I really enjoy these needles. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the Lykke needles, and I'm a little bit curious about them because they're made out of birch, and birch is my favorite tree ever. But I have heard that they are so... Cat Sandwich Fibers had an Instagram story where she was just showing the difference between... Because the Licca needles are made by the same brand as Knit Pro. She made them seem like they are so similar. I know that the Licca needles are beautiful, but I think I need to see them in person. And that's also something that I'm definitely waiting on until I get to Rhinebeck to have a look at some different needles, because I definitely would be up for purchasing some new needles. I have purchased 4 needle cozies from Luli, so I wouldn't be surprised if those arrived today, because they were sent out quite a while ago. So I already have 2. I have a circular and a DPN cozy, I think. Or not cozy, needle case, like needle case. And I purchased, well, I'll show them to you next time because I know that they'll be here, and they are fantastic. I can't wait to get them. And they're each in two new fabrics. The current 2 that I have are in this same fabric because I really love this cabin feel with the pine trees, birch and pine trees. I know there are loads of different kinds of pine trees, but I love them. The next thing that I'm knitting on, I guess I can talk about my Stephen West knit. This is a knit that I would really, really like to finish soon. It doesn't get old. I'm not having troubles knitting on it. It is quite humongous, to throw that word out there. It's quite large, so it can be difficult to take out. It's large, it's heavy. I am knitting this solely out of a Homespun House yarns. I have this again in another Luli bag, and this is the Penguono by Stephen West. I am knitting this with my rosewood needles, which I adore. They are a Knit Pro needle, and I'm knitting it out of 5.5 millimeter needles, and I am holding 2 strands of fingering weight yarn along with a lace weight silk merino yarn. Or silk mohair, sorry about that. And that's what I'm doing for the entire coat, jacket, cardigan. I still don't know what to call this. It's kind of all of the like. So, as I mentioned, I'm knitting this all out of a Homespun House yarns, and I am loving it. I can show you my basket of the yarns that I'm using. I have these in just a little IKEA basket. I have millions, to exaggerate, of these IKEA baskets in all assorted sizes. I use them for a Homespun House. I am constantly using many different bins for many different things. I think I've decided, I had mentioned before that I'm going to do all of the I-cord bind off in Electric Feel, which is this color. When it's dyed up on the tweed, it becomes a little bit more toned down. But I really like the flex in there. I think that might add a really nice contrast and texture to the bind off. So I did dye up Electric Feel on tweed. There is some Electric Feel in the shop for those of you who are looking forward to add some nice pops to your garments, knits, socks, etc. I think these on their own would make amazing socks. But I do have If You're a Bird, I'm a Bird, Besides and Rarities, Electric Feel, Sugared Sweeties, Disaster Piece, After All This Time, Heart-Shaped Box, Mermaid of the Black Lake, Forest Nymph, Pop Art, and then here I have Pygmy Puff, and then here I have I will never remember this colorway name. It's just my cream, just a little off-white colorway. So yeah, these are all the colors that I have in there currently, plus the one that I'm knitting on, which is Grandma Sue's Geraniums, and I pretty much will use the rest of this in the sleeve that I'm knitting, because I am knitting both of the sleeves out of Grandma Sue's Geranium. I have one of them finished. This is it. I still have to join at the bottom underneath, which is, you can see why it's open here, but that just knits up so beautifully. All of all of these colors I am having so much fun knitting with. It's really, as a hand dyer, I'm sure you all know that when you knit with your yarn, it's magic. I love it because the more and more I knit with my yarns, Homespun House yarns, the more I fall in love with them, and the more I know that what I'm doing feels right and that what I'm doing is right, because it's just too much fun and there's too much pleasure in knitting with it. And I love the way that all of the yarns that I'm knitting with from the yarns that I've dyed have turned out. Just the ways that the color is dispersed. I'm so happy. So here I'll show you this front panel. It's really hard to show you this piece because it is just so floppy, for a better word. But it's a lot of fun to knit with. The arms honestly had a little bit of a hold up for a while because they're fun to knit. I love seed stitch, but it's kind of like an attached edging on a shawl where you have to every other row pick up stitches on the sides, and that's how this arm is constructed. And for me, that wasn't the most enjoyable. And now I'm doing it on the second arm, but I know that once I sit down and do it, I can get through it pretty quickly. I could definitely do it, in a day, not spending the entire day knitting, because I know myself and you have things to do during the day, so I couldn't devote an entire day. But I definitely, if I took a bit of time or a full evening after the girls went to bed to sit and knit on this, I could get the majority of a sleeve done. I'm not doing full-length sleeves. The pattern doesn't call for full-length sleeves. I'm doing exactly as the pattern calls for, which I think should just go to my elbow a little bit past. I haven't even tried it on, to be honest. So I have to finish this sleeve, and then I have just underneath of the sleeve, I believe, and then I have the edging on the bottom, and then the collar, and I think that could be it. I haven't picked up this piece in a couple of days, so I'm not exactly sure about that, but I love it. So this is the front. I don't even know how well you can see it. And then this is the back. This is Snack Attack. I did not show you guys that colorway because I used the entire 100 grams for this back panel. So this entire back panel used 100 grams, 400 meters, doubled of Snack Attack. I had a little bit left of Snack Attack, which you'll see right here. There's just a teeny panel of it, and I used every last bit of it for that panel because I love that color so much that I really wanted to use the rest of it in this cardigan. So this is the back, and there I have a little pop of electric feel here, and then I wanted to add a little bit more of it here. That's right here. That's all of the electric feel that I'll put in. I don't want it to be too, oh my goodness, that mohair is getting a little bit scratchy. But I didn't want it to be too electric. I didn't want it to be too many hot tones of colors, neon colors rather. So yeah, I am very much enjoying that. I love all of the different colors that you can use. I feel like for a person who's really into indie dyed yarns, or for a person who's been knitting for a while, or for a person who has been collecting minis, if you have leftover advent calendars, if you have minis that you've been receiving for swaps, or even minis that you've been, wanting to use for your Cozy Memories blanket, which I haven't knit on for over a year. Elodie asked me about that the other day. When was the last time you knit on this? You guys can hear the birds, I'm sure. But she asked me when the last time I knit on it was, because it's hanging over my chair, and she was just wondering if that's as big as it's going to be, and then she wondered where the needles were, if I'm still working on it, why they aren't there. But that's one I need to pick up at some point. I don't know when that will be, because I think if I pick up a blanket, it will be my Granny Stripe blanket, which is a crochet blanket. So yeah, I have been enjoying knitting on the penguin. I don't even know how I got off of topic there. The next thing that I am knitting on and have decided to continue knitting on is, sorry, I'm looking around for another project bag, is my alpine shawl. It's been a while since you guys have seen this. This will be the third alpine shawl that I've knit. I've knit 2 for myself, and now I want to knit a male version. So I'm knitting this yet again with a Homespun House's Bakken base, the cashmere, and this is going to be for Robert. This will definitely be a Christmas gift. And I'm knitting it here out of oatmeal, and then I'm knitting it out of avocado. And yeah, I'm just doing the simple beginning of the shawl. Really enjoying knitting on the base. Robert really wanted a shawl that he could wear with anything and a really easy shawl to put on. I've mentioned before he has the Exploration Station, which he really loves and wears quite often, but he kind of wants more of that triangular bandana, just easy wrap around and tie underneath shawl. So he's really quite tall. He's 2 meters tall. I think he's 6'5.5", 6'6" is what that must be. And so he definitely needs a larger shawl, and which is nice because the alpine shawl is quite large. It uses pretty much 200 grams of fingering weight yarn, so 800 meters at least, or not at least, it pretty much uses that, a fingering weight yarn. And yeah, so I'm excited to get a little bit more going on that alpine shawl. On this bag, which is my Fawn and the Fox bag, I have my, as always, beloved pin from my Grandma Sue. I have my new junk yarn pin, which says "Love Your Junk." Love that. This was a wonderful gift from Kemper. And then I have this beautiful pin with a sewing machine on it as I've gotten into sewing. This is from a lovely friend named Hannah who lives in Norway. So thank you so much, Kemper and Hannah. I adore these enamel pins. They're really beautiful. If you guys don't have a Love Your Junk pin, why don't you? Go on over to Kemper's shop and get one with your yarn. Oh, I also have a Secret chocolate donut charm on there. There are some of those in the shop, so if you want to get some, get some. I have seen quite a few other podcasters with this bag, the Maker bag, which I absolutely love. It is made by Busy Bird Bags. And I love the size of this. I think it's really nice for a shawl, which is exactly what I am using this bag for. I am knitting the Road Trip Shawl by Kemper. Raybot Designs, I believe, is what she calls her patterns. And I love it. So Kemper Ray, she has junk yarn, and I am using, yet again, a Homespun House yarns. I'm using ash for a second time. I will be using ash in a new and upcoming project just because it is such a versatile, lovely colorway. I'm using the Bakken base, so this is cashmere, merino, nylon. And then I'm using plump merino. I am pretty sure, I'm going to throw this out there, that I'm going to go back to naming my yarns the names that I had before I started calling my socks soft sock, plump merino. The reason I changed the names of those yarns is because I thought that just made it so much easier to navigate and find the yarns that you're looking for. And I definitely think that's true. But while I think that's true, I feel like the names that I had before, like Dorheim, Dale, Bakken, Olsen, Dale, or Dale as it's actually pronounced, but I call it Dale because that's my Grandma Sue's middle name and that's how she pronounces it. Those names are so special to me and to my family history that I just feel like with a Homespun House being what it is and how it was created, again, you can go ahead and look at the first episode to hear how a Homespun House came to be for any of you who are interested, because it is a pretty special name and reason why I call my shop a Homespun House. I just begin to wonder if I need to bring back those names for those bases. So it might sound silly to some of you, but for me, I just feel like I'm kind of not doing the yarn justice when I'm not giving them those special names. So anyway, that aside, just keep that in mind when you may be shopping a homespun house in the future. It could be that you don't see those simple names anymore. It might be family names for my sock yarn, and especially from my Scandinavian Norwegian heritage. So this is my puddle jumper colorway, and this is in the plum sock, which is an 80 superwash merino, 20% nylon. And I'm knitting a shawl for my sister, and this is her favorite homespun house colorway. She loves her 3 favorite colors are orange, blue, and gray. And this just screams her name. I didn't dye it with her in mind. It's a colorway it's one of the first colorways that I created 2 years ago. So she told me that she loved it, and I thought I need to make a shawl for her out of it. So this is what I have so far. On here I have a pumpkin pie stitch marker. This is from the Cozy Knitter back when she was making them. I have a pretty little beaded Progress Keeper from Lene Yarns. These are just things that remind me of my sister. Pumpkin pie is her favorite pie. At least it has been since I was little. And then on here I just put my Tom Riddle diary and the basilisk fang. Just because I loved the way it looked with the yarn and I needed to use it. So that's from Sucre Miniatures. It was last month's Harry Potter Yarn and Charm Club charm. I will be sharing with you this month's Harry Potter Yarn and Charm Club charm next time I podcast. Because I love it. I love it. So this is how much I have finished on this. I imagine from far away it's hard to see the texture in the ash colorway. But I'm enjoying knitting on it. I really, really love this shawl. I've knit it before. I didn't get a chance to show the finished piece on the podcast because I showed it I gifted it to my mom while she was here, and she loved it. I knit that out of a Maker's Haven yarn, which is Amber. She's the dyer behind Maker's Haven. Beautiful, beautiful yarn. And I knit it in a Homespun House Bohemian Bakken base as well. So yeah, I've really been enjoying the projects that I've been knitting on. I am obsessed with knitting with my own yarn. That doesn't mean I'm purely going to knit with my own yarn, but I love knitting with the yarn that I'm dyeing. There is nothing that makes me happier. There's almost no knitting that I love more. There isn't. So I'm going to keep doing it as it makes me happy. There's a little gnat that just flew in through the window. So I want to show you guys just one skein of yarn, and then I'm going to show you the sewing that I've been doing. And then I will show you some of the yarns that have come in the mail for me from other dyers. So I wanted to share with you my Gilmore Girls Sucre Miniatures collaboration for the yarn. So this big skein of yarn is called the Pop-Tart Dilemma. It's a really funny scene in the Gilmore Girls. And this mini skein is called Coffee, Coffee, Coffee. And then the charm that came with that was a little cup of coffee and a beautiful Pop-Tart from Chelsea. Chelsea didn't even know that she was designing these for Gilmore Girls Club. I didn't even let her know about that. For the clubs that I do with Chelsea, I've talked about this. I basically tell her exactly how I want the charm to look, and she doesn't even necessarily know what it's for. So I'm sure she doesn't even know that she has a charm out there, this one, with the coffee and the strawberry Pop-Tart, that it's a Gilmore Girls charm. So I'm really happy about the feedback that you guys gave for that. I have a 3-month Gilmore Girls Club for October, November, December. Those have all sold out. Thank you so much to everybody who has signed up. I have everything dyed for that. It's all ready to be sent out. Same with October Yarn and Charm Club, which, oh my goodness, that's with Sucre Miniatures. You guys are going to love, 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 love the Yarn and Charm. They are fantastic. All of my upcoming Yarn and Charm Clubs, I could not be more excited about, but that's how I always feel. I just feel like these last ideas are pretty good. I am really missing doing Harry Potter yarns. Something in my day every day contains Harry Potter, whether it is maybe browsing through a couple of pictures in my illustrated books, listening to an audiobook, or read a few pages of Harry Potter. Just something in my day is usually containing Harry Potter. So it feels strange not to be dyeing up yarn. So I've been toying with the idea of maybe doing a special Harry Potter yarn club for Christmas. That's not necessarily going to happen, but it's something that has been brewing in my mind for sure. I would love to do something special. It would just be yarn. I know there are a lot of people who would love to sign up for the Harry Potter yarn and charm clubs, but they don't have enough money necessarily to sign up for a yarn and charm, because the charm adds money to the subscription, or else they don't have money to sign up for, or enough funds to sign up for a 3-month club. So I thought maybe it would be nice to do a 1-month yarn only Harry Potter club. That's possible. Let me know what you think about that. That would just be for December. And then, of course, coming into the new year, there will be a Super Miniatures and a Homespun House Harry Potter Yarn and Charm Club. I already have ideas going for the charms and yarn as I'm reading the books and looking at photographs from the illustrated books. The newest one comes out, I think, October 2nd. I've already purchased it, pre-ordered it. I cannot wait. I'm listening to Prisoner of Azkaban currently, which is the 3rd one that's coming out as an illustrated version. And I can't wait. I can't wait to have a look through and read through that book. So I'm going to show you all of the things that I have been sewing for the girls. I've had quite a bit of people ask me if I can show exactly what I've sewn. So all of these patterns that I'm sewing are from Patty Dew, and she is a German designer. And I'm really, really enjoying the sewing that I've been doing. I have 2 patterns that I have been sewing repeatedly because they're perfect for my girls. They really love them, and they just fit into their wardrobe really nicely. Because Elodie and Ruby are both young and constantly growing and changing every single year, their size changes every year. And that means they need new clothing every year. And I've always saved Elodie's clothes for Ruby, so Ruby wears a lot of Elodie's old clothes. However, they're half a year difference, which makes a big difference in little kids' clothing. So I'm really wanting to get a good collection of purely handmade clothes for the girls. I will not be making handmade tights or handmade like cotton thin springtime going into summer socks. I do want to make everything else: underwear, Unterhemden, so undershirts, leggings, warmer, maybe wool pants, sweatpants, which will be sewn, dresses, short sleeve shirts, sleeveless shirts, etc. So I do hope to make all of those things. Hats, I'm not sure I'll make their jackets for the winter. I definitely don't think I will. I need to find where I can source some good waterproof style jackets. Fabric. So the first thing I'm going to show you is quite crazy looking because it literally is soaking wet. It needs to be hung up. Ruby wore this yesterday. This is her newest piece. Sorry for the terrible quality of this wet, wrinkled mess, but as I mentioned, it's quite wet. So this is Ruby's dress. Lovely, love it. Ruby loves it. This is another one of Ruby's dresses, and all of these dresses have this kangaroo style pocket at the front. The girls love these pockets. So I really like that feature on these dresses. It was Elodie's main thing that she wanted to be sure that she had a kangaroo style pouch on the front of her dress. So this is Ruby's 3rd dress. She has 3 long sleeve dresses currently at the moment. And I brought over a hat to show. So now that it's in fall, each of the girls has a jersey lined hat. and Elodie picked out this fabric. I just picked out the pink lining. These are all knit fabrics. It's 95% organic cotton, and 5% spandex. That's what all of these are made out of, and they're all Lillestoff, which is a Norwegian, Scandinavian, I think Swedish actually, fabric designer. So then Elodie has 2 dresses, and she's picked out both of these fabrics. I know they're very, very busy, but it's what she likes. So she has this one, and as you can see, hers are a lot larger. Ruby wears a size 98 and Elodie wears a size 122. So any of you who are getting into sewing or wanting to sew for your children, Ruby needs 50, probably, 50 to be safe, 50 centimeters of fabric, and Elodie definitely needs 60 for a dress, I think. No, Elodie needs a meter for a dress. Yeah, Elodie needs a meter for a dress. You could get by with probably 80, but I would definitely 50 for Ruby, 60 for Ruby, and a meter for Elodie for a dress. But as far as a long sleeve shirt goes, which you'll see in a minute, the dimensions for that are definitely different. So Ruby has one short sleeve shirt. This is the same fabric that I sewed the hats with. I only showed you one hat, but they each have the same. And then Elodie has 2 short sleeve shirts. So Elodie has chosen all of her fabric for all of her shirts, as I mentioned. She has this one, with the pretty ballerinas on there. And then she has this sweet one. These have all been worn and washed. All right, so Elodie has one more dress. I've done quite a bit of sewing. I really, really enjoy doing it, and I know that they love wearing the pieces that I've made for them. So this is Elodie's newest dress. It needs to be washed. There's some tomato sauce on there. She just wore this yesterday, so I will have to go into the wash today. And then I have this long sleeve shirt of Elodie's. It's a little bit wrinkled looking, but nobody minds that. And then I have these 2 shirts that I'm currently sewing for Ruby. So I showed these on my Instagram stories. Go ahead and follow me on there. I love doing them. I do them most days, and you can kind of see what I'm up to, a lot of stuff that I don't talk about in the podcast. So this is the one that I'm currently sewing for Ruby. It's both of these shirts still need neck bands, and then they need to be hemmed. So the bottom of the sleeves and then the bottom of the shirt. So there's this one. I really love this fabric. I picked these 2 fabrics. Ruby is not really picky at all with her fabrics. So when I'm choosing Ruby's fabrics, I generally choose like rest pieces. Like the pieces, they're often big stacks that have half of a meter of fabric, and you can kind of mix and match ones that are already cut, and those are at a really, really pretty good price for Lillestoff fabric. So that's usually where I go to for Ruby's. So then I chose this one, and same story, needs the neck and then the hemming. So these are the 2 neck bands that I'll sew on there, and then I'll hem them with a zigzag stitch. So the final piece that I have sewn is this long sleeve shirt for a birthday party that we're going to, one of Elodie's friends, and then I just have the kangaroo pouch to sew on there. I don't generally do a kangaroo pouch for a long sleeve shirt, but because this is for a boy who does not wear dresses. I know some boys wear dresses, that's totally fine. We all have our own style. His mom said that he would love a kangaroo pouch on his long sleeve shirt. She thought that he would really like it. So I hacked the pattern. Super easy to do a kangaroo pouch on a long sleeve shirt. So I've just got to go ahead and sew that on there. I'll probably do that when I do the finishings and trimmings on the 2 shirts for Ruby. My next plans are to do some leggings for the girls. As you can see, all of those fabrics were quite busy. So I'm hoping to do some simpler fabrics for the leggings. Even if that's just solids or tweeds or stripes. That's probably how I will go ahead and do those. I've had so many people asking me, because we do have a vegan or whole foods diet where we do not eat any animal products at all. There are a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it, honestly, all on this podcast. If there is enough interest, I may go ahead and talk about it at some point. But one thing that I think is important is to talk about yarns and fibers and things like that. So I know that the wool industry can be quite harmful and terrifying and terrible, to be honest. And as a person who is not just eating a vegan diet because of the environment and because of the health benefits, but also because of the care and treatment of animals, that's definitely something to take into consideration when being a knitter and knitting with fibers that are, in particular, merino, as well as a lot of other fibers. But I know that the merino, there's quite a bad industry of what's going on there. So I've had people ask me, as a vegan, how do you incorporate then vegan fibers into your diet and knit it, or into your knitting, not diet, and knit with healthy and positive choices. So the yarns that I have at a Homespun house, I know exactly where they're sourced. I know how the animals are treated, and I feel good about the product that I am receiving, about the product that I'm dyeing, about the product that I'm knitting with, and about the product that I'm selling. I do not feel that I am making and creating and putting out products where the animals were harmed or abused or hurt in any way, simply to make a knitting experience. And that's why, one of the huge reasons why I knit with a Homespun House yarns, because I can feel good in every aspect about what I'm knitting with. Now, I know that most vegans choose not to knit with any animal product. You know, you knit with bamboo or cotton, plant sources. I did want to mention that because I've had quite a few questions about it, and I think it's definitely an important thing to bring up. I want to share with you some of the fantastic yarns that I have received in the mail in the past weeks, because they're amazing and I love them. So the first yarn that I received is this beautiful skein of 100% organic non-superwash merino DK in the rosewood colorway, and it's just beautiful. I love all of the fuchsia, pink, brown, golden yellow, mustard, purple, lilac, just beautiful colors of this. I feel like this is such a special skein of yarn because Aditya and I had spent some time together, and we had quite a bit to talk about with non-superwash yarns and how to dye them. And so I just really felt like this was sent as, yay, thank you for the tips, I got it. And that she's loving dyeing non-superwash yarns. So it's beautiful, Aditya, I love it. The skein of yarn is perfect. I have 3 skeins of self-striping sock yarn from Nicole C. Mendez. This one I saw on her Instagram, and it just looked perfect for Elodie. Elodie really, really likes bright rainbow style yarns. And I just thought these were perfect. It's called Summer Fun, and I think this would make really, really nice socks for Elodie. And if I'm making them for Elodie, I know Ruby will love them as well, because anything Elodie has, Ruby loves. So She also sent along 2 skeins called Ice Cream, and this one is Love is in the Air, and she said that I can keep them or give some for a giveaway, so I think that those 2 will go for a giveaway in the next episode. And then my yarn came from Kemper of Junk Yarn. So I'm really excited about that. I had planned on casting on the So Faded pullover by Andrea Mowry quite a while ago. Actually, before I had planned to cast on my Penguono. And I hadn't even planned on casting on a Penguono, but the yarn hadn't arrived, and I really wanted to be knitting on a garment. I just had the bug to be knitting on something to wear on the top of my body, a sweater, pullover, coat, etc., cardigan. And so then the Penguono happened. But really this was what was supposed to be on my needles. And now that this is here, I don't know when this will be cast on. I'm still working on my Penguono, and I really want to finish my Penguono because it is so cold here. The house is between 19 and 20 degrees in the house. Today it's warmer because I think it's about 19, 20 degrees outside, which naturally means that the house is warmer. But I love these yarns. It could even be springtime that this gets cast on, or late winter, like, January, February. So I have Catherine, Amalthea, Padme, and then here is Diana. So they're very beautiful. I'm not sure exactly how they go together, if it's like this, or if these 2 middle ones flop around. I'll have to have a look. But the junk yarn is exactly as it's photographed. And that's one thing that's very, very hard to achieve as an indie dyer, especially for me living here in Berlin where it's gray constantly. Especially now that autumn and winter are rolling around. But hers look exactly, at least these ones, exactly as photographed. And it's exactly what I expected, what I hoped for, and they're beautiful. It even crossed my mind to possibly just take 3 of these and do the Stephen West mystery knit along. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. I'm not 100% sure. It is during the time that my parents are visiting, and it's during the time that I'll be in Rhinebeck. So I don't really know how up to date I will be able to be with the mystery and the knit along, which really stinks because I love Stephen West patterns. I adored the Marled Magic. I'm loving the Penguono. I've knit the Exploration Station. That might be it. I might have just knit those 3 patterns from him, but I've loved every minute of it, and I'm just falling more and more in love with Stephen West yarns as I knit with them, or patterns. So I don't know, that's something that I'm thinking about. I do have my special Harry Potter Yarn Club yarns that I've been saving, and I feel like a lot of them can really fade together pretty nicely, so I'm thinking about doing that as well. I would definitely need to dye up some pops of yarn for that, because I think you need 5 pops of 20 gram minis. So I'll have a look at that and talk about that next time as well. So many things to look forward to in the next podcast. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to having more pullovers on the needles. They're definitely pullovers that I want to knit. There's another cardigan that I want to knit. I ordered some super bulky, freaking amazing yarn. It's a non-superwash yarn. It's beautiful that I want to dye. I'm either going to dye it a heathered, a dusky rose sort of color. I'm thinking a dusky sort of sea sky blue colorway. I could even do it like a copper color, like a burnt, but very, very kind of light, coppery, burnt orangish red color, which I know is quite the contrast from a dusky pink or blue. But I definitely have to keep that in mind. And that cardigan I want to pair with mohair as well. There's this huge oversized pink cardigan that I wear often, all the time. If you watch my stories, you'll see that I have it on because it's a wool blend. I didn't knit it, but it's one that I love, and I want to knit something very similar. And that's what I have planned with this new super bulky yarn that I've ordered for dyeing. So I think that will probably be the next thing that goes on my needles after the Penguono. And then once that cardigan is finished, it will be an open-faced cardigan. It will definitely not have buttons. I will probably knit the Sophated pullover. I really want to get knitting on my granny stripe blanket. I even thought about pulling it out yesterday. I didn't do any knitting. How that happened, I don't even know. That just happens sometimes when I get really busy working. That just happens. So I would talk about the trip to Greece, but Robert and the girls are actually here right now. It's Saturday morning, and they're doing super special secret birthday things because my birthday is on Monday, which is very exciting. And so I know they're wrapping presents and getting things ready. What, I have no idea. And then the next coming weekend, Robert's parents will be here through the weekend, and then the weekend after that, my parents will be here for quite some time. And I think 2 or 3 days after they leave, I'm heading to Rhinebeck, not to Rhinebeck, I'm heading to Sue's, and then we'll go to Rhinebeck and then spend time at her house again. So I can't wait. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to meeting some of you guys. I will say goodbye now. I hope that you all enjoy your weekend and weeks ahead, and I'll see you soon. Bye.